The originals were great, the potential remakes could be just as glorious. Welcome to Watch Mojo UK, and today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 10 British films we want to see remade.
What would your father say if he could listen into the awful thoughts you're entertaining?
Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. For this list, we're considering the British remakes that could, and perhaps should, happen. We're not suggesting that the original films are bad in any way, far from it, but they could benefit from being introduced to new generations with a fresh perspective.
You will never rule the world, because you are doomed.
Number 10, If. Highly controversial and criminally underrated, If is a film which was shocking in the 60s, but would surely get the respect it deserves today.
Understand running? Good.
Despite some recent efforts to bring it more attention, a remake would go miles to raise the profile of its important story.
The thing I'd really hate is to have a nail bang through the back of my neck. Slowly.
Starring a young Malcolm McDowell, it centres on a gang of public schoolboys who rebel against their authority figures and stage a miniature and violent revolution, going as far as to steal live ammunition and fire on the teachers and students they hate. The controversy is clear, but so is the potential for a powerful new picture. Number 9, I See a Dark Stranger. This spy thriller follows the misadventures of Birdie Quilty, a patriotic, English-hating Irish woman who tries to join the IRA but mistakenly starts working for the Nazis.
He's English. Of all the compartments on this train, I have to get into one with an Englishman. Now, I might have known it.
She begins by aiding in breaking a Nazi agent from a Devon prison, but eventually becomes aware of who she is actually working for when she retrieves information informing the Germans about the D-Day landings. In the end, she's a changed person, having fallen in love with a British officer who saved her life after she was abducted by enemy spies. Love, betrayal, split loyalties, and a historic setting, it translates to 21st century film just as well.
Now, it's all the same to you. I'll be getting on with my sandwiches.
Number 8, Kind Hearts and Coronets. Here we find Louis Mazzini, a disgraced aristocrat ninth in line to his family's dukedom, who decides to murder everybody standing between him and his title, in order to exact revenge for being a social outcast.
I shot an arrow in the air. She fell to earth in Berkeley Square.
The twist is that the people he has to kill are all played by Sir Alec Guinness in an array of comedic performances.
Used to get a lot of this stuff in the Crimea. One thing the Ruskies do really well.
Not an atom of him was left.
It'd be great to see Louis' ingenious murder spree reimagined to fool modern police. But the question is, who would take on Guinness's 9 iconic roles?
And as the Italian proverb says, revenge is a dish which people of taste prefer to eat cold.
Number 7, The Echo Murders. Suave Private Eye Sexton Blake may ultimately be a knockoff version of Sherlock Holmes, but this didn't stop him from entertaining the British public for more than 30 years.
You know that I know too much about you.
He may not be the world's greatest detective, but his B-movie antics briefly made him a fictional celebrity. The tacky but endearing Echo Murders sees him investigating a murder at a mine in Cornwall, and a new version of this classic detective certainly wouldn't go amiss.
Are they after the mine?
Very much so.
Then why foul their nest by committing murders?
Well, they didn't want to.
After all, everybody loves a good drama, and this is a character proven to work as well on the small screen as the big.
Are you going to give the right name, or do you want some more? There's nothing more I can tell you!
Number 6, The Bridge on the River Kwai. Another Alec Guinness epic, this World War II drama won 7 Oscars, including Best Picture, Director, and Actor. But is that any reason to leave it alone?
What would you do if you are me?
I suppose if I were you, I'd have to kill myself.
In the sweltering Burmese jungle, British POWs in a Japanese camp are ordered to build a railway bridge to aid Axis movements, an endeavour destined to be sabotaged by the Allies.
One day the war will be over. And I hope that the people who use this bridge in years to come will remember how it was built and who built it.
But the best scenes revolve around the psychological warfare between Guinness's Lieutenant Colonel Nicholson and the villainous Colonel Sato. Giving fresh actors a chance to shine in these demanding but iconic roles is an opportunity few would pass up.
I must tell you, Colonel Sato, I intend to make a full report of your activities in this camp.
Number 5, The Lodger, A Story of the London Fog. This silent Hitchcock masterpiece will be reaching its 100th anniversary sooner rather than later, and is surely due a respectful remake to commemorate one of the greatest directors of all time. Inspired by the Ripper murders, an erratic lodger's ailing landlady suspects him of being a brutal serial killer who only murders young blonde women. This terrifying tale of a monster stalking the streets of London is truly timeless, and would be as frightening today as it was in the 1920s, transporting audiences all the way back to the real-life Ripper murders in 1888. Number 4, I'm Alright Jack. A comedic satire of post-war trade unions and strikes, I'm Alright Jack is a politically charged romp which became the most popular film of 1959.
Now what does that indicate? A whacking great profit.
The upper-class Stanley is forced to take a working-class job at a missile factory and ends up lodging with a communist shopkeeper and his beautiful daughter.
Are them your own teeth?
Well, of course they are.
It's not exactly well-trod subject matter, but whether you side with the union or side with the strikers, It's Alright Jack manages to mock both. Given the ever-dicey economic landscapes in recent British history, something similar in today's cinemas would likely be just as popular.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we all realise that if we can't export, we shall die of starvation.
Number 3, Dr. Strangelove. This Cold War classic perfectly satirised the nuclear arms race and doomsday fears of the 1960s, and has been hailed as one of the funniest and most culturally significant films of all time.
Hey, what about Major Kong?
But with the global political spectrum getting more and more intense today, maybe some good old-fashioned lampooning is just what the Doctor ordered.
Mr. President, the technology required is easily within the means of even the smallest nuclear power.
Updated to be more relevant while keeping its beloved absurdity, a remade Dr. Strangelove would be sure to deliver more than a few laughs in the often bleak modern world. Number 2, Pimpernel Smith. Released when the Second World War was in full swing, Pimpernel Smith has often been described as a valuable piece of British propaganda, indirectly helping toward the war effort.
No, I hate violence. It seems such a paradox to kill a man before you can persuade him what's right.
The story itself follows an archaeology professor who moonlights as a rescuer of concentration camp inmates. Most remarkably, the film was said to have inspired a real-life rescue in a Hungarian camp, meaning it actually saved thousands of lives.
This guy's gotta be saved. Something's gotta be done Saturday.
On the contrary, if we do anything, it'll be on Friday.
Heroic sentiment like that is hard to find these days, so breathing new life into this classic is worth anyone's while, whether as a reworked drama or a documentary-style feature.
But can you manage?
I shall do my best.
Number 1, The Third Man. It's what the British Film Institute considers the greatest British film of all time, and for good reason.
Harry was dead before you got him to that statue. He probably knows a lot more than that. Somebody's lying.
The Third Man is a noir thriller by acclaimed author Graham Greene, with an equally celebrated score. It also stars the legendary Orson Welles as Harry Lim, a man murdered in unusual circumstances in post-war Vienna. With his suspicious death being investigated by a childhood friend and writer, there are dark twists afoot and gruesome conspiracies. If it were ever remade, it'd demand the very best in acting talent, production and directorship, and would surely reap massive success all over again.
They had 500 years of democracy and peace, and what did that produce? The cuckoo clock. So long, Holly.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from WatchMojo UK, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.